What's up? What's up? What's up? It is James and Sae'Von again. We are here to talk about some interesting things. We touched on the things that we're going to talk about today on a previous episode, but did not go into depth. We are going to be talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. Now, I'm gonna pass this off to Sae'Von in just a second because I believe that he has more of a technical understanding of everything that is blockchain. So Sae'Von, if you would initiate the listeners a little bit into what it looks like in the blockchain. Walk them through NFTs. Walk them through what the hell non-fungible token means.
Yeah.
Because 6 weeks ago, I didn't know what that meant either.
Yeah, so thank you for that little primer. And I think if anybody who's listening, for some reason they've heard or been exposed to NFT, whether it's because they heard that Mark Cuban has been investing, or it's because they, have an artist that they listen to. But effectively, all the NFT is the non-fungible means it basically is non-replaceable. You cannot exchange it. So a dollar bill is fungible in the sense that the dollar bill in my wallet is the exact same as the dollar bill in your wallet. We can switch them in and out and they're going to do the exact same thing. So with non-fungibility, it just means that it makes something effectively a one of one. It's unique. So where that becomes powerful is in things that people want to certify as being unique. And so we've seen the NFTs have gotten a lot of steam in the art world, even though they have other use cases. And the reason it's so powerful in art is because somebody is looking at a famous piece of work by Da Vinci or, Monet or somebody who's prominent, right? They spend a few thousand, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions on it. How do they actually know that is the authentic, real version? Because people counterfeit things all the time. They counterfeit money, they counterfeit Prada bags, they counterfeit a lot of things. So art is also in that realm because it's a lucrative industry to be in if you are a skilled counterfeit. So these NFTs allow somebody to create something, right? So let's just call it a digital piece of art, a song, whatever, and then mint it onto the blockchain. And then that minting gives it a unique identifier so that in the future, it will always be understood and verifiably authentic. Now, there's other nuances with it as well, since it's built on top of smart contracts, so you can program other things into it. And so one thing that people have gotten into is programming royalties into it. So somebody makes an NFT like this guy Beeple, who's at this point, he's the top digital artist.
The most famous digital artist in the NFT space, period, bar none.
His story's crazy, because he was doing the everydays, and there was our homeboy Caleb who actually brought it to both of our attention because I didn't know who this dude was. But he was doing this series.
5,000 days?
Yep. Every day for 5,000 days. And he wound up selling some of those as NFTs, and he's grossed over 10, 15, $20 million from direct sales. But anytime he sells one of those pieces of artwork, anybody who ever sells it in the future, he's automatically going to get a kickback in royalties, and different platforms allow you to scale that and do different things with it. The NBA has partnered with a Top Shots from Dapper Labs and on their Flow blockchain. And so from my understanding, Warner Music Group is also signed on. So we're going to be seeing some wild stuff come out in terms of people using the NFTs. But it's some technical things on the back end, but for the end user or the consumer of it, it's very simple. If you want to buy it, you go to one of these platforms that sells it. Same way you go to Amazon to buy a blender. You go to one of these platforms, you can look for NFTs and buy them. And if you're someone who makes them or wants to sell them, then you get on these platforms. You basically just go in there, you upload the file the same way you would upload a song to DistroKid or upload an image to Instagram. You choose some parameters, you hit mint, and then it's good to go. So yeah, man, that's like the high overview of NFTs.
Yeah, so as an artist and not primarily visual, where do you see NFTs going?
Bruh.
Because you're in the music space. You're in a handful of spaces, but most notably, if you Google your name, a lot of music stuff is going to come up related to some other groups. And yourself on Spotify. I actually Googled you yesterday. And Autumn Saints and a bunch of other stuff popped up. And
hey,
I was
man,
like,
always part of the Saint gang, boy.
And Colossal Athletics popped up, and I saw all your old posts.
Throwbacks.
Yeah, Myers Quad and Brumby Boot Camp. And,
yeah, man.
So What's the application for a musician, for a composer, for someone that film scores, for someone that raps? Like, why does this matter?
Why does it
Because
matter?
it seems, and we'll go into a little bit of my experience with NFTs thus far, but everything that I've been looking at, primarily it's visual components right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
Uh-huh.
Primarily it's visual. And maybe that's graphic design, maybe that's photographic, maybe that's, After Effects or something else for 3D and 4D compositions. Why does it matter for musicians?
That's a great question. And I think that's what has also confused some people is because they're just like, yo, I can screenshot this. I can save the GIF, the JPEG. Why would somebody pay for it? And that's when it comes down to just the actually being able to verify, no, this is the actual authentic piece, by this creator. And so that has some value. But specifically in the world of music, and I'm literally just waiting for Drake, for Travis Scott, for one of these huge dudes to really leverage this. But basically, the royalty component is where I think it's the most powerful. Royalties and copyright as well. And I explained
Royalties for the music.
for the music, because as we discussed, just a second ago, any NFT you can set a royalty for, and that's not, to my understanding, really been as much of a thing in visual artistry or people who do physical art, whether it's sculptures or acrylic blocks or something like that.
No, and even when your stuff goes into a museum, most of the time you're not getting you're giving a lease fee or you're giving whatever, or something goes to auction, you get that one sell.
Yeah.
But that's it. You never, if it sells, 10 years from now for 50x, you don't get any of that.
You get
even
none
if your
of it.
name's on it.
You may not even know that it did, right?
Correct.
Because
They're not gonna
private
tell it. Why would
sales,
they- like,
And
not
so
gonna share that.
that's the power of having the built-in royalties. So an artist can, because it's been known, a lot of artists find themselves in situations where their deal may not really be the best for them, or they've gone independent, and now it can just be a little trickier to get to market or do something that would have had the same magnitude of exposure that they would have had with that backing of the major label. So by doing the NFTs, for one, they're scarce, right? So if they're scarce, it's going to lift the potential value to those diehard fans. So maybe somebody used to have 100 million fans, or 50 million, and now they went independent and it's falling down to 5. That's still a lot of damn people. So if they then create something and they limit the quantity of, let's say, this album, or this particular single, whatever it is, to 100 people or to 250 people, it's going to drive the most ravenous, diehard super fans of that artist to this particular work because they want the authentic thing. Think about people when the Life of Pablo tour was going on, they were freaking out over getting the merchandise from this concert because it was just like, yo, this is one of the craziest concert, tours ever. And then on top of that, you have the built-in royalties. So somebody puts their music out. Anytime anybody wants to sell that song down the road, they're going to get a kickback from it. And even if it was just off of that initial sale, let's say an artist wasn't really concerned about the scarcity aspect, but they just wanted to do a direct sale that went straight to them and not to the label, not getting cannibalized through a 360 deal. Let's say they wanted to sell 50,000 copies. They can put out their single or their album, mint 50,000 copies, and then they get the value of all of that sale. Initially, they get it all. And then if anybody wants to now flip one of those in the future, they're going to get the royalty. So if they went with a higher quantity, then there's probably going to be less resale values, but they can get all of the value of what it's sold for up front when they sell those quantities if they're not going through a label, which would already eat some of those profits or recoup what their upfront advance might be. So it can get really interesting. And then particularly for people if they want to start combining digital assets with real world assets, and that's something that we were even talking about before we started recording, because we've been bouncing some ideas back and forth. You've actually been getting into the space minting. I haven't minted anything yet, but you've been out here really diving deep.
Seven or 8 things minted in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's interesting though, because we haven't seen, and Gary Vee, Logan Paul, Mark Cuban, a handful of people have talked about exactly what you're talking about, and I believe them when they say that there's going to be more application, just visual application, and an over-index of visual imagery in the NFT space. However, so far the artists, Neo, Bilal, Grimes, a few other people.
Yeah.
Most of them have done collaborations with the illustrator or something like that to combine and tap into that fan base, but bring imagery into it and then score in the back. So it's interesting because it's kind of like if you roll back to one of the first projects that we worked on, that Q with Anderson Howell, it's kind of like, it's almost similar kind of stuff that we were doing there, but now they're releasing these in limited quantity and actually receiving value, like monetary exchange for them, whereas we were just putting on Instagram, you know? Pretty interesting there.
Yeah, and I think that people are doing that because they're trying to find the best vector into the game, right? And so if you're seeing the visual art sell for high numbers, or it's easier for people to connect to, okay, I'm paying for this thing I can look at. Whereas, because a lot of people before, they weren't collecting art. Collecting art has exclusively really been a thing for high net worth individuals because the barrier to entry is high. So now that more people are being exposed to art as an asset, as an investment vehicle, it's more natural for them to immediately gravitate toward the visual, and that's kind of where the subculture has existed thus far. So as more people come in, like Tory Lanez last week or the week before, he did a drop on a platform called Bondly, and so that's where Logan Paul did his Pokemon cards. But he released basically the way that people back in the day, they would have bonus tracks on their deluxe album. So he took some songs that he would only release as these NFTs and then sold them out, within a few minutes, few hours to those hardcore fans. And so as more people play around, as more people experiment, it's a novel way of just taking some type of creative expression, packaging it up, and then identifying how many of them you want to be limited. Because if somebody puts a song on DistroKid, I can't tell DistroKid only stream this 1,000 times. But if I did, what would it do? How would that dynamic work if Drake had an option to say, okay, I'm only going to sell this many albums? His biggest fans would be much more likely to pay a higher fee for access to that album if they knew that they couldn't just get it on demand at any point in time. Now, granted, that's the flip of it. Just because somebody mints an NFT does not mean they cannot still make it available to the broader public. The difference is when you get that NFT, you own it. Versus if it then, so let's take Grimes, what she did the other day. If she took whatever those sonics were and then put them out on Spotify still, there's an argument that it could devalue the NFT. And I'm of that opinion, depending on what level you are. If you have that super fan base, they'll pay whatever, basically. But for people who are burgeoning artists and just kind of coming out, there's even ways, and we've discussed this, and I go into this a little bit more in some of the stuff I talk about on the Native Assets platform, but people could actually use NFTs as a means to copyright themselves and have it be verified on the blockchain that they created something at a certain day and time, or at least they minted it at a certain date and time. So give an example.
Before they released it to the public?
Before they released it, so that there could never be any question or argument about who made what, or did this artist reference this person or steal this thing potentially. So let's really throw it back. Do you remember This Is America?
I do.
Right?
I do remember This Is America, and I do remember the other song that was very, very close to it.
Yeah, so that artist's name was Chase Harley. Let's say Chase had put out that music on the blockchain, right? At that point in time, it's going to be a stamp that says, okay, at this date, at this time, you staked your claim that you created this thing. Whether he sold it or not, it's there, and you can't undo it once you mint it. That's the other thing. Once you mint it, there's no undo button. It's there. Whereas on DistroKid, I can pull my stuff at any time. YouTube can pull my stuff at any time. Spotify can kick me off their platform if they so chose. Right? With these NFTs, you can't just yank it out of the ether, because especially once somebody buys it, you can kick the artist off of the platform. So if I'm on Super Rare, I was actually doing some reading yesterday, and there was some sex workers who started minting art as NFTs. And so it was basically this blog. She was kind of just talking about the shame that was coming with that, because she announces that she's a sex worker, not just somebody creating erotic artwork. And some of these platforms were basically not allowing her to upload some of this art because it was violating their terms of service, right? Now, they can bar you from being on the platform, but once an NFT is minted, it can't be unminted, like I said. If you've bought it, it can't be yanked from your wallet at that point, which is a little bit different than what we've seen with other digital art. And we even saw, you sent this to our group me yesterday, Amazon, and we've spoken about this. Y'all think about the name of the Kindle, fire. What is kindling? Things that are used to stoke a fire. You need Kindle to burn. So if you were to put books on a Kindle, maybe you're trying to burn books. Let's not go there, right? But anyway, Amazon, they have been yanking books from their platform because they're digital things. If somebody bought the digital version of the book, they can wake up, all of a sudden the book's not there. Now, it's hella convenient when it's there and you want to use it, but when you want to make sure you can safeguard something like, I got these incense right here, no one can just okie dokie zap these away because it's a physical thing. Now, that's the other power of NFTs. You make it so that a digital item can effectively always exist in perpetuity on the blockchain. So, yeah, man, I think we're very much at the front end of this. And as bigger people come into the space, people who throw more money at it, there's more minds around it. We're gonna see all types of stuff. Like, think about how popular memes are. What the hell was a meme 10 years ago, man?
Yeah, memes are already on the NFT space too.
You know,
there's a bunch of stuff with Trump, Biden, and everybody else. Election stuff. Beeple did a few things where the White House was burning, Capitol building was burning, and Trump was, I think, sucking the thumb of Biden or something like something crazy was happening. Pretty interesting though, and I think a lot of people in the space are trying to chase that. I want to be people. But they don't realize, just like any kind of artist in any space, is that 5,000 days. He's a graphic designer. 5,000 days released a piece every single day on Instagram for 5,000 days. Went back and has minted them, but got paid none to do that. A lot of people thought he was really weird. A lot of people still think he's really weird. It's very funny to me, though, that people are like, oh, well, I can just be the next Beeple. It's just going to take me a few posts to it's... People love to say that about Drake. They love to say that about Kanye. They love to say that about anybody that has, quote unquote, stardom in any space. Like, oh, well, I mean, it can't be that hard, And I even said this to you the other day in the studio when I came over here to record last time, I believe. And I was like, this just sounds so simple. It sounds so simple. And you started breaking it down like, it's not that simple. It's made to sound that way so that you can enjoy it and not think about it. But it's not that simple. And so I think that's something in the NFT space that people got to be aware of, that this is not the space for Sae'Von to try to be James, or James try to be Sae'Von, or we try to be the lights, or Kanye try to be anybody else. I think that the NFT space is a place where we're going to see innovation. We're going to see different types of art. We're going to see, maybe home improvement contracts go to the blockchain, or maybe home improvement consulting services go to the blockchain. And I think there's a lot of things that NFTs are going to be paired with in the physical world that I think, and I mean, there are some people that are evangelizing NFTs that are screaming from the mountaintops and nobody's listening to. Unfortunately or fortunately, those individuals have been right in the past about YouTube, about Wine Library TV, about a few other things. Gary Vee is someone that screams loud and people are very turned off because he curses and what have you, but he is someone that is adamant that NFTs are going to the moon. But he's also adamant that 98% of the things that come through the NFT space and the art side, because people are trying to mimic people like people, is going to be shit.
Yeah. And that's where people have to be careful, because you have that duality of the investment and the speculation side, and then the actual utility. And often they don't move in tandem. And so to that point, a lot of people are just going on some of these platforms and buying any old thing, not really thinking about how much it's costing them right then and if it's going to hold its value when they try to sell it, because there's this narrative that, NFTs are going up, 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 up. And so my advice to anybody who's looking to capitalize on the appreciation of this whole NFT subsector of the blockchain industry, you're probably not going to do a very good job of picking pieces of art that are going to go up in value, right? At least ones that are affordable. Now, if you buy a Beeple piece, that motherfucker going up in value, right?
You're going to make a lot of money on that, because those resales those are like 3,000% resales every time.
Crazy. Now, that's that whole, exactly. So it's going to be way harder to get it. You have to hope that the platform that they launch on doesn't crash, right?
Like it has every time that he's released anything.
Yeah, So it's like you got some people that are safe bets, But for the most part, it's not really going to do anything. So the easier way to capture that appreciation is to actually find companies, protocols in the NFT space and invest in those. So for instance, if anybody's really been following, you got to get into the weeds of the investing in the blockchain stuff, but projects like Mana, which is the token for Decentraland, it's a virtual reality world. You got the Sandbox, their token is called Sand. I first found out about that maybe 2 weeks ago. I was looking into maybe adding it to the portfolio, telling some of the native assets clients about it. It's up over 80% in the last 2 weeks. You have Flow, which is the token for Dapper Labs, and they're the ones behind Hotshot. You got Engine, you got all these different protocols. NFTX, which is looking at how to make it so that you can put liquidity pools that are that you insert NFTs in as the collateral within that liquidity pool. So this is the type of stuff that people aren't paying attention to because Gary Vee doesn't know about this shit. He ain't talking about it, so the masses don't know about it, which is why their value is appreciating there. People are losing money chasing the tail, right? And this is just real basic investing advice. If everybody's talking about it, you're probably late, right? Late in the sense that there's something else that could go up in the way that you are hoping that the thing you're chasing goes up, but you don't know about it, so you can't even chase it, all right? So that's why the utility, the actual utility of NFTs is driving some of these projects to really grow, because to your point, and this has been going on for at least a year, people are tokenizing invoices and contracts and basically, future statements of cash flow that will come in through contracts, logistics. They're minting those as NFTs so that then people can trade those assets in the same sort of way that people trade derivatives of, okay, if we think this company's supposed to earn this much and there's a deal for this, and it gets real into the weeds, right? But NFTs are also being used for that purpose as well, as instruments to trade on the claim, the unique claim of this particular invoice, you know what I mean? Or this particular amount of debt from somebody. So when we see that stuff combined with the derivative asset market, and that's something that's going on in blockchain, a lot of people aren't paying attention to, a lot of people don't know, you can literally trade assets that are correlated, that effectively act and move in tandem with the price action of Tesla, Apple, these other big stocks on the blockchain. You can do it 24/7, and you do them through these synthetic derivative contracts that are linked to the price action via oracles of these stocks, and you can do it in a decentralized way. And so
you're talking to right over 99% of everyone's head.
Hey man, we trying to get on some of that game. You know what I'm saying? So people can't ever say, why is the service cost for the Hey man, there's game. I don't want to give a game, but you got to find it. So it does get interesting where, to Gary's point, to Mark Cuban's point, NFT stuff is gonna be here. It's gonna be important, but we are in a bit of a hype wave of like, I can buy any old image of some shitty, low resolution file of something goofy, and it's gonna 10x, 20x in value. It might 10x, 20x down, in value, but the space as a whole, the protocol of NFTs, people are gonna use it. People are gonna use it a lot.
I think also something that's overlooked is if you're gonna bet on any NFT art specifically, it might be a better idea to bet on an artist. It might be better to bet on a musician, an individual that's creating, or a collective that's creating. To your point on betting on companies and protocols, might take the same strategy. If you have money and you're wanting to do that, they might want to look at the people that are doing well in the space, that are coming into the space, that are doing well other places, because that might be a better indication of potential appreciation on that art. Just buying something because it bounces a certain way and it looks cool. If you want to do that, do that. But thinking that you're going to get rich and you're going to have Tesla money because you bought someone's 8-bit Smokey Joe. I just don't know that that's the right thing to do. But I also think that one and the same, there's tons of space for you to try to create, to go out and, if you're an artist, start minting some artwork, right? You can use Mintable and you don't have to pay gas fees. And gas fees are an interesting thing that people don't understand. They're proportionate to how much, correct me if I'm wrong, proportionate to how much traffic is on the network at the time that you're trying to push the token out. I will tell you that there have been times where I tried to mint something and it cost me $60. And then other times when I tried to mint something and it would have cost me $1,200 to mint something. And the file size it doesn't depend on anything to do with the file size. It depends on the network and how many people are out there, how many people are putting in orders, what's going on there. Don't get okey doked with $1,500 gas fees. That's where those platforms are just racking cash because people are like, damn it, I don't care. We're just going to run it. NFTs, baby. Let's go. Mintable might be a great place to start.
Yeah.
I've got 4 things on Mintable. It's very easy. Something that you do have to do is get a wallet. Can you walk them through kind of what a wallet? Yeah. What like, MetaMask and the other Ethereum wallets, because I think that's something that's also overlooked. Like,
it's a barrier of entry.
Very few platforms allow you to just buy USD.
Yeah,
and
Nifty Gateway is one. You can connect a credit card that's owned by the Winklevoss twins. But effectively, what James is getting at is you have to go from fiat land, right, from toy money land to
US
digital
dollar.
money land. And so you have to have a go-between so that you can easily plug into these protocols and then through the smart contract execute your purchase, right? So basically, you need to get you some cryptocurrency. Specifically, you're going to need Ethereum to pay the gas fee, unless you're using some different blockchain, but you're probably not. You're going to need Ethereum to pay for it. So get on Coinbase, get on Kraken, Gemini, whatever, have your flavor, get you some Ethereum. Then
wire direct deposit into your MetaMask or what have you.
Yeah, and so then you're going to want to download, and you can do, there's mobile wallets that work really well on your cell phone, like Exodus is a good one. But the easiest thing will probably be just to go inside of the Chrome browser, and I think they have an extension for Brave browser. But then you just download the MetaMask extension, and then you're going to send your funds from wherever you bought it. So if it's Coinbase or whatever exchange, you're going to send it from there to your MetaMask wallet. And then anytime you log on to any Web3 application, which is the name for any smart contract embedded application or website built on top of Ethereum or smart contract platform, and then it'll basically prompt you whenever you need to do something like, connect your wallet. And there's MetaMask, there's Matic wallet, and there's a few other ones, but MetaMask would definitely be what I would recommend to most people to use. And they also have a cell phone app that you can sync up. So you can check in on that and do what you need to on the go as well, but definitely works best on desktop. So,
yeah, and so you need MetaMask, or you need something, you need a substitute of that to buy, sell, trade, send, receive.
Store it. Once you buy it, that's where you can actually hold it.
And you need to understand that you need to keep your seed phrase safe. You need to also understand that you need to know your password. And if you need to keep all that information in probably multiple places, because if you ever lose it and you do not have seed phrase, that money is gone. Those tokens are gone.
Yeah.
They're sitting there. They're never going to go away, but you're never going to get them back again. So it might be a good idea to reinforce yourself there a little bit. I think that NFTs they're going to go through the roof. I think there's a lot of application that we haven't seen installed or actually utilized. That's probably a better word for that. Utilized in the space that I can't wait to see. I know we will probably circle back and go deeper on NFTs, potentially after there's some collaborative releases of some things. And I think it will be prudent to go back down that path.
Yeah.
We are coming up on our time today for this episode. We appreciate you coming out. Is there any lasting words, anything to do with the NFT space at all that you want to leave everybody with before we sign off?
Tread carefully. Investing is risky. You can lose all your money. Do your own research, but have fun. That's all I got, man.
I love it. So with that, we are going to head on out. Thank you so much for listening, and we will catch you on the next episode. Y'all take care.
Peace.